I've had the pleasure of working for BP for about 12 years now, but it's not where I've spent most of my career. And as you can see from this lovely slide with a fabulous picture, I really wish we could do something about. My background, actually, my qualifications are all law. So my first degree is law with politics, and my second degree, my master's, is international business law. But my history and my career history is very much focused on customers and consumers. And BP is the third FTSE 100 company I've worked for. So if we take a little detour about my career, and feel free to ask any questions, and we'll answer those later on. I finished my qualifications, my formal education, but I did actually carry on studying while I was working. So I also achieved a company secretary qualification. And for those of you that are not familiar with this, it's about accounting qualifications and further legal qualifications. There is a requirement for most board of directors to have in UK companies moving forward. I've worked for Allied Domecq, which was a large drinks industry organisation, and I was responsible for setting up their wine business, which, as I'm sure some of you can appreciate, was a pleasure to experience. So I set up their wine business, I was responsible for soft drinks, and I was also responsible for cask ale. I then went to work for Tesco's, who are a large supermarket grocery retailer in the UK, and they're also internationally based. And I'd worked with Tesco's during my years studying, so I had experience of working with them during all my studies. But when I went to Tesco's, they headhunted me into the business, and actually I was working for them in their revenue generation team. And that team was a brand new team that was set up to explore and develop the offer for Tesco's. And I was ultimately responsible for the Tesco's banking arm, which is a business called Tesco Personal Finance. And when I moved into that area, that part of the business was really loss-making, and I was fortunate enough to turn that business round and make it a very successful cash-generating business. Following this experience, I was then approached by BP. So, as I say, I've been at BP now for 12 years, and quite honestly, I thought I'll come here for 5. I thought this will be a great experience. I was missing my global portfolio when I was in the drinks industry. I was travelling globally. I thought it would be a great opportunity to move back globally. Needless to say, I've had so many fantastic opportunities, and I've been able to develop myself and my career in ways that I would never have foreseen when I joined the organisation. And BP approached me because they were trying to get serious about their retail business, and I had a lot of customer and consumer experience. So I was brought in to set up a brand new team, which was looking at setting up European buying and supply chain for their retail business. The team hadn't existed before. They weren't really sure what it was, and the job description, it said one thing on the paper, but when I got in here, I had an opportunity to shape that entire area and influence the wider business. And one of the big opportunities I had very early on was actually to change the retail industry in the UK. So my role was European. I was setting up a brand new European team, but I was able to come into the UK retail business and help the team here introduce and work with a leading food retailer in the UK called Marks and Spencer's. So I led the negotiations around bringing a leading food retail brand with a fuel forecourt brand together to provide and develop a customer offer that at that point in time was not in any industry anywhere else in the world. And that's generated significant growth for BP over the years. And it's a model that we've taken and we've distilled and we've been rolling out around the globe. Following on from the role looking at European buying and supply chain, I then had the opportunity to go and work for a lady called Vivian Cox. And at that point in time, Vivian was a very senior member of the BP Group executive team. She was the most senior woman in BP, and in her portfolio, She was responsible for the gas business, the shipping business, and the alternative energy business. And I went to work directly for her in her executive team. Now, this is quite a unique opportunity and a unique role. And I remember meeting Vivian for the first time and her asking me, Nikki, why should I have you for this role? And as you can already tell from my background, I knew nothing about gas. I knew nothing about shipping, and I really didn't know very much about alternative energy. But I wanted to learn. I had strong commercial acumen, and I thought it was a great opportunity for me to learn from such a key leader in the organisation and develop my network across BP. And thankfully, she thought that was a good idea too. So I worked for Vivian for a number of years, and that role involved assisting her with board papers, speeches. I had access to everything that came across her desk, and it was a significant learning opportunity for me to understand how a corporation the size of BP worked and operated, and how somebody of that level worked in an organisation like BP and in the external world with people like government officials, other large multinational organisations, NGOs, etc., etc. So I learnt a lot from Vivian, and I still keep in touch with her today, and she's got a fantastic external portfolio out of BP. Moving on from the role with Vivian, I was then offered an opportunity to head up our global brand and comms team in our retail business. So I moved into that role, and again, it was a time of opportunity. What we wanted to do with marketing was changing. The external environment was changing, and BP had been, besides a few pockets like the Marks and Spencer's example in the UK, hadn't really looked at a total retail offer and a total retail opportunity. So I was able, with the global marketing team, to actually come up with a retail proposition, not a fuel proposition, but a retail proposition for the downstream business. And that's part of what my team did. We also developed advertising, like some of the examples you can see behind me. We worked with our technology teams on our advanced premium fuels, about how we were going to communicate them out to our customers out in the world, and that was a global role. And then during that role, BP went through a number of changes, and we got a new CEO for the downstream business. And Tufan Ergin-Bilgic is the CEO of our downstream business now. He came into role in October 2014, and I was asked to join his executive team. I don't know whether I didn't do the job well enough the first time, so they asked me to repeat it a second time. I'm still working that one out. But I went back to work for Tufan, who was the CEO of downstream. And this role was a little bit different to when I was working for Vivian. The portfolio was significantly different, and I'll talk a bit more about the downstream in a few minutes when we explain a bit more about BP. But the way of working with Tufan was very much, there was myself and there was another lady called Anke Tannhauser, and we split his portfolio in half. And I was responsible for helping him and the businesses that worked within my portfolio achieve the best results for BP. So it was looking after lubricants, it was looking after our ASPAC fuels business, it was liaising with our petrochemicals business, and it was also dealing a lot with safety. Again, there was lots of interaction with the board, there was significant commercial learnings, and it was helping him, be the best CEO he could, and that involved influencing many, many people, both within and outside of the organisation. And following working for Tufan, I'm in my current role now. So I basically run the UK retail fuels business, which is a more than $2 billion turnover business. There are 1,300 retail service stations in the UK, and there are over 7,000 employees in this business. It is a hugely successful business. It has great opportunities. There are lots of changes in our industry, be that from a mobility perspective, like electrification, But also from a retail perspective, when you think of digitisation of the offer, and you see offers like Amazon and how they're introducing their offer. But we're really well placed with our convenient locations to capture the opportunities that our customers want moving forward. Because the customers of the future are really, what we can see, is they're putting a financial value on solutions that save them time. And our business offers an opportunity to give them some of their time back because we're located in really convenient locations. So my role, as I see it, as I hold it now, is to lead this business into the next change and the next opportunities that we see coming our way around electrification, connected cars, and digitisation as the world evolves. And that really sums up my career to date. Working at BP has been a pleasure. I've had the opportunity to work at 3 organisations. As I mentioned, I never thought I'd stay here for 5 years. I've stayed for 12. And that's really been down to the opportunities, the reach, and things I would never ever have considered. And hopefully this short overview will have given you a little sense of that.